Hey guys, so today I'm going to be feeding all of my 5 geckos here, but first I'm going to start off with feeding my turtle Lewis. So if you didn't see the last video, I have a special way of feeding Lewis now. I feed him outside of his tank, and I do plan on doing research looking into this a little bit and kind of doing a video about like the pros and cons of feeding your turtle outside the tank, but that's not why I do it. I do it because inside of his tank is a lot of water flow, and in the last tank that he had, there was a lot of goldfish, and he seems to have trouble eating for some reason, but when he's in a stagnant tank that's no water's moving, he's not fighting for food, he just goes crazy and eats a ton, and his weight needs to go up because it's been dropping since it started to get cold outside, and like it makes sense if he's eating less, but it's been like going down every single month when I weigh them, and that's kind of worrying to me. So here he is, crazy active. That's probably part of the reason that he is losing so much weight. I mean, he was in the 300 gallon, so he's moving all around that. Then he was in a 55 gallon, or 75 gallon, and now he's in a 120 gallon with tons of flow. So he's getting tons and tons and tons of exercise. He's probably out here at the glass all day long trying to swim around, because that's what turtles do. But he's not taking in the amount of like food that he should be for some reason. So if I do feed him like this, then he eats a ton every single time, and that's really good. So I mean, I might feed him more than I probably should when I do this, but again, if he was like obese, then I wouldn't. But he's, like I said, he's losing weight. I don't know why, so I gotta feed him, and then I am going ahead and feed my other turtles real quick. Sorry it's dark, that's just my lights turn off. But here I have this. I've actually been making a routine. I might release it, not a video, but just like a list of all the things that I do every single day of the week. And it's a long list. Like every day I have a routine when I wake up, when I get home, and then before I go to sleep. So there you saw me feed the 125 gallon, and the reason I did that is because Pee-wee in there will actually be able to get to the food. She's just fine eating them. So I dropped some food in there and she'll get them later. But now I can move Petey into this tank. I only filled it up a couple inches because I don't have any type of way for him to get out of the water. So I want him to be able to, or anything for him to climb up on. Just want him to be able to breathe just fine and whatnot, and find the food and everything. And this is a way of me doing just like a water change every single day. But right now he's trying to get out. He will find the food and he will eat it, as you are going to see here. So now I'm going to feed the geckos. So for a long while I'd actually been going with a every other day routine of feeding the geckos, but I think what I'm going to do is start doing a every 2 days. So I didn't feed them yesterday or the day before, but I fed them the day before that. And that's just because I actually, I noticed that like Teddy and Darwin didn't eat very much each time I fed them. And I feel like it was just because I was feeding them too often, so they were getting little bits, like pretty often, and I think I'd rather do like a lot every so often. But here we have Garfunkel, and he's being kind of crazy for some reason. He always gets a little bit confused when I first give him food, and you saw his little head shake there. That's one of the funniest things to me with these guys, is that you can, sometimes they'll bite into CRESTED GECKO diet and not realize that it's not like an insect, and then they like shake their head all crazy, like they just kind of freak out. That's something that Teddy would do a lot. I always found it very funny, but there's Garfunkel, and I'll wait till this is pretty much it. I'm just gonna get him to eat until they put their head up. That's kind of my thing. Once they put their head up, you know that they're getting their letting the foods go down their throat, and then once they put their head back down, and then I'll try to feed them, give them more. So here I have Leonard, and I normally get these two guys out at the same time because they're not very smart and they don't seem to notice that there's another gecko. So I don't think, in my opinion, crested geckos aren't very aware whatsoever, like at all. Unlike Charlie, the iguana that I have, he seems to understand everything except that my hand isn't another being. He hates my hands for some reason, but these guys don't really notice each other all that much, as far as I know. Just the way that they react or interact, because I do get them out, or I do put them together, but only when I am feeding them. But I won't let these two interact, but like I'd let the females interact. But again, they don't really interact with each other. they kind of just, I mean, they'll look at each other, but you don't know that they're actually processing that it's another gecko. Or it doesn't seem like they are. So these two, I just feed this to because they don't seem to have any interest at all in dubia roaches. Or Garfunkel did, but that was just the day that I got him, or like the first time I fed him, I put a thing of dubia roaches in there, and he kind of looked at them, and then he like went for them, but then that was it. He went for them once, and after that, he's never even, and when he did, he missed it, so I don't know what that was about, but that's the only real thing. And I feed all these guys from one spoon, like the same thing of food. It's just easier for me, and I don't plan on stopping doing that. I don't feel like making 5 separate things if I'm going to be hand feeding them. I don't really see any, I mean, I see something wrong with it, but I mean, I don't think any of them are sick, and if one was sick, then the other ones would already be sick as well at this point, so I don't think it's really going to be hurting anything at this point. So generally I feed these guys first just because they are in the front 2 tanks, and then I'll get out Darwin and Teddy. So here I think they're done, so I'm going to go ahead and place them back into their tank. He's the other day he jumped off of my hand, and if you don't know, that this is on top of the iguana's cage. So that wasn't fun for me, because that was like, I measured it, it's like 62 inches, so he just plopped down to the ground onto hardwood floor, which is unideal, but honestly, I've not dropped, 3 of my 5 geckos have jumped off of me at really high points at this point, and some smaller than others. Darwin jumped off of me, off of my shoulder when he was much smaller, onto tile, so, and then Teddy's jumped off of my hand, I think, onto the hardwood floor, and so is Garfunkel now. But Teddy was like a little tiny baby, so honestly, I don't think it does anything to him. I mean, I'm sure it doesn't feel good, but I just don't think that it affects them very much because of how small they are. And they're probably built to be alright with that. I mean, even, and I don't think it'd be something to worry about, because like even, like I said, Darwin and Teddy both did it, and they both still have their tails and everything. So if you I wouldn't, definitely 100% try not to drop your gecko, but if it jumps off of you and you just can't get to it fast enough, like I'm standing on top of a ladder, I can't reach out and grab Garfunkel if he's going to jump off of me. So if you can prevent it, definitely do, but if it happens, I wouldn't worry about it. Nothing negative has happened from it, but I'm sure if it happened like a lot, then yeah, it wouldn't be great. But in my opinion, crested geckos are just very handleable. I mean, I can understand. I mean, I would say I'm experienced at handling lizards at this point. I've handled really nice crested geckos as well as really crazy crested geckos like Garfunkel. Not ones that are like super crazy, I don't think. I think the craziest would be Garfunkel. You saw he ran there. Leonard was acting really weird the other night as well. He was running around. I thought it was very strange. But I've also handled Charlie when he's all right with me and when he's mad. And yeah, I've handled a large range of lizards, and even I was really afraid when I first got Charlie to handle like any lizards. Like I remember going to an expo before I got Charlie, and this was before I got Charlie, so this was before I had any reptiles, and I handled a turtle, and I swear to you I was scared to handle a turtle. So if you're scared to handle something, it's fine. That's completely normal. And it's not the fact that I was like afraid of it, like I thought it would hurt me. Well, the turtle I was, because it was a side neck turtle and I was scared that it was gonna like bite me. But like Charlie, I was afraid that he'd lose his tail, or that he would bite me, or that he would freak out and run away, and then I would freak out. But you just kind of have to get experience. So like after once I got Darwin, then I got used to handling lizards, and then I was more able to handle Charlie and kind of predict their movement and whatnot. So basically, if you're not experienced with handling, you just have to do it to get experience. That's kind of how experience works, but also don't be like ashamed or anything, because I think that's pretty normal to I wouldn't say be afraid, but just be like overly cautious, just be like kind of scared almost. I guess that was probably more it. I wasn't afraid of the animal, but I was scared for the animal. That's, I guess, how to describe it. When feeding crested geckos out of their enclosure like I do, paper towels are definitely my friend in this, because crested geckos like to poop when you get them out, like most lizards, and if you have something to get that poop out or clean that poop up, to me that's paper towels. Also, when you're hand feeding, they tend to wipe their they tend to get the stuff everywhere, so that's not very good. So as you can see, I'm feeding the geckos in kind of like rows here, so I'll feed these two, and then I'll feed the two in the back, which are Darwin and Teddy. And they're my older geckos. They're not necessarily older, but the ones that have had longer, so it'll be interesting to see if Teddy's about to eat for me. I'm gonna feed Teddy, see if she'll eat for me. And she's eating. This is great. Okay, so it's been a couple days since she's eaten, but while I reign this day victorious, I guess. The idea was if I didn't feed her for a few days, then she would eventually eat when I offered food, and that is happening. So that is very good. Yeah, I personally think that once crested geckos get to a certain size, like Darwin, not necessarily like Teddy, but like Darwin, which you'll see in a second, she is absolutely full grown. She's huge. She's like, I feel like she's like 8.5 inches long, and her tail isn't even very long. Like Luna, once Luna gets to adult size, she's gonna be easy 9 inches, 9.5 inches. She's gonna be huge because her tail is super long. Teddy's tail is short, but like weirdly short. Like I think it was like cut off at birth or something, because she didn't drop it, because tails can only be dropped in one place, because there's only one like area where there's soft tissue on crested geckos. Unlike iguanas, they can drop their tail anywhere. But Teddy will be abnormally short like all her life, but Darwin's tail, I wouldn't say it's like super short, but she's just not as long as other adult crested geckos that I've seen. But here I'm going to try to get her out. She's been liking hanging out in this area down in the bottom. Here, I'll show you guys. You guys can see this. She's right down there. Look through the plants here. She's there, and I feel like that's because she might want to lay eggs or something, because she's been kind of round, which is pretty good. So that's kind of interesting. I feel like that's the reason. But I think whatever new enclosure I put her into after, once I redo the enclosures, it'll be much better than this. So for me and for her, whatever it'll be front opening, which is the most ideal. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And I say whatever it'll be because plans are kind of changing in the future of the reptile / fish room. So because I kind of got an unexpected animal, which it's never good, but that's the reason that I keep so many resources and stuff, is so I can take in animals whenever that's needed. They're stuck shut on her tail, which is weird. I need her to get her to sit for a second so we can get this off. If you've ever wanted to see what crested gecko skin looks like, this is it. Alright, let's see if I can get it to focus. There you go. Pretty weird. And even if you have a crested gecko, you might not have even ever seen it shed, or you might not have even, you might not have even ever seen it shed. Luckily, I have seen Darwin shed, and honestly, I'm not even sure if I put it into a video, but I do have a full, 7-minute video of her fully shedding, which is just amazing. By the way, I thought it was a guy, or I hoped it was a guy when I got Darwin, so I didn't hope that it was a guy, I just kind of assumed, so that's why I named her Darwin, but I'm not going to change her name now. Teddy I named a unisex name because I figured that it would either be a boy or a girl, so Teddy ended up being a girl, and then I know that Garfunkel and Leonard are both guys, so Darwin is a girl. Kind of confusing there. Here, she doesn't seem super interested, which she hasn't been, in food, which is alright. But after I'm done giving them crested gecko diet, I will offer Teddy dubia roaches, and she is normally the only one who will eat dubia roaches, and then I will go ahead and offer Darwin dubia roaches, which she'll normally eat one, possibly, or she won't. So they eat just a little bit, but they're also quite large, and their stomach's quite round, unlike Leonard and Garfunkel, and unlike Luna, who you're about to see, who's in a separate tank because she hasn't been eating, and I'm not 100% sure why, but I think I have an idea, and I talked about it in the last video. I think my room has been too hot because I've been keeping the door closed during the day, but now I've been leaving it open, which I just opened it because people were upstairs and they were making noise, and I didn't want that during the video. It's been getting really hot in here, so okay. Just had to do that to not overheat. Now, if I had only iguanas in here, then that heat would be fantastic and I would love it. And honestly, if I had iguanas in here, I probably wouldn't even need very many heat things. If I had multiple iguanas in this room with heaters on them, it would basically be their paradise. This is just, it's humid in here and it's hot when I close the door. But since I have crested geckos, I need to keep it cooler, which means that I always need to have my door open, which is annoying because, like I said, people make noise, which is unfortunate. But here I'm just spraying these guys down. I don't know how my new feeding technique or feeding routine will affect the humidity of these guys' enclosures, because I generally only spray them down when I feed them. So maybe I'll just spend a little bit more time doing this, but I'm just going to spray them down. That's pretty simple. I use this. I haven't been caring about wiping the glass off because I simply just don't have time unfortunately. But now I'll feed Luna. Okay, guys, down here is where I keep Lola, or Luna, sorry. And she's in here, and it looks like she might have eaten some of her food, but I'm not completely sure. Also looks like there's a little bit of mold, but there is air holes in here. So I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna set her right there. And as you can see, there's a bunch of food in here because she hasn't been eating. So, don't really know why she was eating before. Then I think I moved her from a couple different enclosures, and I guess maybe that stressed her out, and that's probably why she hasn't been eating, but I don't see why that would affect her eating now. So I think my next plan is to buy some other types of food. So I think that she was either eating Zoomed Gecko Diet or Repashy before I got her. So I might get both of those because, I mean, I could use them. I mean, I don't know. My geckos might not like them. But I'm also thinking about getting some other gecko foods. I didn't want to do that before because I only had 2 geckos, but now I have 5. So if I get a different type of food, then they'll actually be able to eat it faster. And I mean, like Darwin and Teddy might not really need to eat the type of food that I have because I have the with insects, which I guess kind of, maybe I'll switch it up. Maybe I'll do like a different routine with that, like use the with insects every once in a while, like once a week, and then the other ones, I don't know. We'll see what I end up doing, but right now I need to do this, and then just let her chill right here, and then I'm gonna go ahead and spray this down a little bit, and then I'm gonna go fix her food, get her more food. Now the thing is, like, if I try to feed her right now, she won't eat anything, as you can see. I don't know why, and this was just how she always has been. So like, that's not part of the not eating. She just has never eaten out of my hand, or out of the spoon. So I don't know why, or it's not the spoon specifically, but just I haven't been able to hand feed her before ever. So I'm gonna go wash this out and then put new food in it from that, and then we'll move on to the dewberry roaches and feed Beth and feed whoever will eat dewberry roaches. Okay, so now I have the stuff. I'm just gonna go ahead, and actually what I'm going to do is I'll switch the spoons. So I'll just go ahead and put quite a bit of food in here. I don't have to feed any of the other geckos, and I have no real reason to store this food. So I'll just go ahead and put like all of it in here. And then I'll leave some in the spoon, so then there's 2 spots with food in the enclosure. Like I said, I think I'm going to try some other foods, try some other brands maybe. I think that there's a high chance of working. But now I'm going to go ahead and move on to this. So I need to feed these guys as well, I think. I made a change to this enclosure a little while ago. As you can see, there's leaf litter in there, and that's just to give them a place to hide. So then when I open it, they'll still be out here. You see there's ones underneath, and then I'll be able to grab them. And right now I just threw a ton of huge carrots in here. As you can see, they're going to town on those. And the nice thing about that is that it's not super wet, so I don't really have to worry about it molding as much, but they're completely out of oats. So I'm gonna go ahead and take my bag of oats that I have, and I'll dump it in. I'm just gonna dump quite a bit of this in the corner here, and they'll go to town on the oats, and that'll be their source of protein. and then I'll give them fresh veggies. So right here is Beth, and I'm just going to go ahead and feed her the DB roaches. As you can see, she's kind of looking around because she knows that the bugs are coming. She really likes these, which is very fortunate. So she'll eat a good few. Or she should anyway. I think it's been, I'm not sure exactly how long, but it's been a good few days since I've fed her, but she's big and she's an adult, so she doesn't need us fed very often. And I do use, this is just calcium powder, but I don't think she likes it all that much. Here's see, she dropped this DB roach, and I feel like calcium powder is the reason. So there she goes. Sorry, my phone ran out of battery there. She ended up eating 9 DB roaches, and then I fed Teddy 1 DB roach, and then I put Lewis back. So now I'm all done for the day, and I gotta edit this video. So hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, like it down below. If you have any comments or concerns, put in the comments below, and if you want content, then subscribe. Have a fantastic day.